The rain poured heavily over the streets of Kumasi. Thunder cracked in the sky, and the wind chased leaves down the roadside like spirits in a rush. Most people had run indoors. But not her. A young girl stood alone at the side of the road. She was soaked to her skin. Her faded blouse clung to her thin frame, and her skirt, torn at the edges, fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were tired, her lips trembling. But she stood still, like a tree rooted in pain. Her name was Afia. She had no umbrella. No shoes. No home. As the rain beat down on her, people passed by in their cars, windows rolled up, heaters turned on. No one stopped. No one even looked twice. That is, until a black Range Rover slowed to a stop in front of her. Inside sat Kweku Mensah, the only son of Chief Kwabena Mensah, a cocoa millionaire known across the Ashanti region. Kweku was dressed in a grey suit. A diamond watch gleamed on his wrist. But in that moment, none of it mattered. He saw her. He quickly stepped out, letting the rain hit him without care. In a voice full of concern, he said, "Miss, are you okay? You'll catch your death in this rain. Please, let me help you." Afia backed away, fear in her eyes. "No, sir. I don't know you," she whispered, shivering. "Why are you stopping for me? Are you a ritualist?" Kweku blinked in shock, then softened. No. My name is Kweku. I'm not here to harm you. I saw you and couldn't leave you here like this." She stared at him, unsure. "My mother always told me," he continued gently, "that true worth means helping the ones who need it most. Please. Let me take you somewhere warm. You don't have to trust me. Just rest." A long silence hung between them. Then, Afia nodded. He quickly opened the door and helped her inside. The warmth of the car made her eyes close in relief. She didn't realize how cold she'd been until now. "Do you have anywhere to go?" he asked. She shook her head. "I've been living behind the market, under a broken store." Kweku's heart ached. "Not anymore. Tonight, you're coming with me." The Mensah mansion stood tall behind golden gates. As the car pulled in, house staff peeked from the windows. When Kweku stepped out with the drenched girl wrapped in his jacket, whispers began. He guided Afia inside. "You can rest here. We'll find you dry clothes, and something warm to eat." But then came a cold voice from the hallway. "Who is she?" Madame Akosua Mensah, Kweku's mother, stood at the top of the stairs. Her arms were folded, her lips tight. Kweku sighed. "Mama, please." "Her name is Afia." She was standing in the rain. "Alone. I couldn't just leave her. She's dirty. She could be dangerous," Madame Akosua said sharply. "You brought a street girl into this house." "She's not a street girl," Kweku replied. "She's a human being." Afia looked down, ashamed. Madame Akosua stared at her son. Then turned away. "I'll speak with you later." Kweku turned to Afia. "Don't mind her. Rest. I'll bring you food soon." As he left to get a towel, Afia looked around the big house. She had nothing. Yet, for the first time in months, she felt a small flicker of safety. That night, as the rain washed the streets clean, a new story quietly began. One that the whole village would soon talk about for years to come. The morning sun crept through the tall glass windows of the Mensah mansion. Birds chirped outside, but inside, the air was heavy. Whispers floated from the kitchen to the corridor. The maids talked. The guards talked. Even the gardener who rarely spoke had something to say. "She's still here," one maid muttered. "A homeless girl, sleeping in the guest room of the rich," another replied, shaking her head. Afia stood by the door, listening. Her clothes were clean now. One of Madame Okojua's old dresses had been ironed and given to her. But no dress could hide the stares. She felt like a stranger in a palace. Kweku knocked gently on her door. "You slept well?" he asked, his smile soft. Ophelia nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. Thank you, for the bed, and the food." "No need to call me, sir," he chuckled. "Just Kweku is fine. You're safe here. Don't mind the stairs. They'll forget." She wanted to believe him, but fear still sat quietly in her chest. Kweku handed her a small notebook. "I know this is sudden, but I'd like to help you go back to school. You mentioned yesterday that you loved mathematics." Afia's eyes lit up, surprised he remembered. "I used to dream of becoming a teacher," she said quietly. "But life." Kweku sat beside her. "Tell me. What happened?" She hesitated. Then slowly, she began. "My parents owned a small store in Boricom. They worked day and night so I could go to school. But one day, the market caught fire. It happened so fast, they were trapped inside." Her voice cracked. "I had no one else. An uncle took me in, but he sold everything my parents left behind and disappeared. I had to beg my aunt for a place to sleep. She made me fetch water, clean, and beat me if I refused." She wiped a tear. "I ran away. Came to the city with some money I had saved. But the money finished. For weeks, I've been sleeping behind the market. Until you." Kweku's fist clenched. "I'm sorry you had to go through all that." She looked up. "You're the first person who's ever asked me to tell my story." Just then, a knock interrupted their moment. Madame Okojua entered, holding a tray of tea. She stared at the two of them, then placed the tray down. "Afia, I hope you're feeling better," she said stiffly. "Yes, ma. Thank you." Madame Okojua turned to her son. "Kweku, may I see you in my study?" He followed her down the corridor. As soon as the door shut, she spoke sharply. "What is this, Kweku? Bringing a poor girl into our house like some lost puppy. She needed help. And now what? You'll make her your project. Do you know how this looks? I don't care how it looks. I care about doing the right thing. She could be lying. Playing a victim. She's not." Madame Akojua sighed. "Fine. But don't let this get out of hand. Your father would not approve." Kweku said nothing. He walked out and returned to Afia. "She's not too happy," he said with a small laugh, trying to lighten the air. Afia smiled weakly. "I can go if I'm causing trouble." "No," Kweku said firmly. "You're staying." That night, Afia stood by the window, watching the city lights blink in the distance. She didn't know what the future held, but one thing was clear: Kweku had given her a new chance. She prayed silently. "Let me use this chance well." And just like that, her quiet journey to transformation had begun. 3 weeks passed like a dream. Afia was no longer the girl shivering in the rain. She now woke up each morning in a clean guest room, wore decent clothes, and ate hot meals prepared by the cook. But what mattered most to her was the sense of purpose she had started to feel again. Every day, she studied with Kweku's old tutor, Mr. Owusu, a retired teacher with a kind heart and a sharp mind. He was amazed at how quickly Afia learned. "This girl is not ordinary," he told Kweku one afternoon. "Her mind is like a sponge. And her heart beats stronger than most people I've met." Kweku smiled. She just needs someone to believe in her. Afia would often sit in the garden after lessons, going through textbooks and writing her thoughts in her notebook. She had once wanted to become a teacher. Now, her dream had shifted. She wanted to work in business, like Kweku. She wanted to build something that could change lives. One evening, after dinner, Kweku surprised her. "How would you like to work with me at our family company?" Afia looked at him, stunned. Me? But I've never worked in an office before. I'll teach you, he said with a smile. You'll be an intern. No pressure. Just come and learn. Afia's heart leapt. Yes. I would love that. Mensa Agritech, the company owned by Kweku's family, was one of the biggest in the country. They produced tools and machines for farming. The office was large and filled with people in suits. When Afia walked in with Kweku on her first day, heads turned. Some smiled politely. Others whispered behind her back. Isn't that the girl from the streets? What's she doing here? But Afia ignored the stares. She sat at her small desk, took notes, and watched closely. Every day, she learned something new: how to type reports, how to organize files, how to calculate profit margins. She made friends with a few kind workers, like Oma, a quiet receptionist, and Yo, a junior accountant who always made jokes. But not everyone was happy. Kojo Mensah, Kweku's cousin, watched her with cold eyes. He had worked in the company for years, always hoping to impress Kweku's father. Now this nobody girl was getting praise. One afternoon, he walked into the lunchroom where Afia was sitting with Oma. Kojo said loudly. From street corner to office chair. What a fast rise. Afia looked up. Good afternoon, sir. Kojo sneered. Let's see how long you last. Oma stood up. She's doing her job well. Leave her alone. Kojo walked out, but his mind was already working. He had to find a way to push her out. To make her look like a mistake. Later that week, Kweku gathered the office team to present a small research task. It was a test to see who could find the best solution to help small farmers save money. To everyone's surprise, Afia's idea was chosen as the best. I suggest a mobile loan app for farmers, she explained. It will help them buy tools when they need it, and pay later in small amounts. The room went silent. Kweku clapped first. Brilliant, he said. But Kojo's jaw tightened. That night, Afia sat on the balcony, watching the stars. Kweku joined her with 2 cups of hot cocoa. You did well today, he said. I still can't believe it, she smiled. You're not just lucky, Afia. You're smart. And strong. She looked at him, her eyes soft. Thank you, Kweku. You've given me more than food or shelter. You gave me back my voice. But neither of them knew dark plans were already being made behind closed doors. And soon, everything would change. The wind outside whistled through the trees, but inside the office, things were quiet, too quiet. Afia sat at her desk, reviewing data reports like she always did. Her days were full of learning, helping, and slowly building confidence. But someone was watching her. Kojo Mensah, still bitter from the praise she received for her mobile loan idea, was determined to bring her down. He couldn't accept that a once homeless girl now had the attention of not just Kweku, but even their father, Chief Mensah, who had asked about the smart girl with fresh ideas. Kojo had a plan. And it was simple. Late one evening, after everyone had left the office, Kojo entered the file room. He pulled out a confidential document from the drawer, a list of suppliers and pending contracts worth millions. Quietly, he slipped it into Afia's file folder and locked the drawer. The next morning, chaos erupted. A senior manager stormed into the room holding the folder. Who took this classified document home and returned it unsigned? Who touched this without permission? Afia looked up, confused. I don't know anything about that, sir. The manager held the file in front of her. Your name is written on the back. Are you saying you didn't see this? No. I've never opened that drawer in my life, she said, her voice shaking. Within minutes, the whispers began. She's been stealing information. Just wait. She probably came here to spy. It wasn't long before Madame Okojo arrived. Her face was full of fury. I knew it, she hissed. From the streets to the boardroom. I should have trusted my instincts. Kweku tried to speak. Mom, we don't know if. She turned sharply to him. Don't defend her. She used you, Kweku. She used all of us. Ophia's eyes welled up. Please. I didn't do anything. I would never. You're finished here, Madame Okojo snapped. Pack your things. You are not welcome in this house, or this company. That evening, the rain returned. Just like the first time. Afia stood by the roadside, holding a plastic bag with her few belongings. Her heart was heavy. Her chest tight. She had no strength to cry. It was too much. She had come so far, only to lose everything again. Kweku tried to call her, but she didn't answer. He went home and found his mother sipping tea like nothing had happened. She's innocent, he said. She's a liar, Madame Okojo replied. Open your eyes. She fooled us. No, Mom. You're the one being fooled. He stormed out. 2 days passed. Kweku launched a quiet investigation. He asked the IT department to review security footage. At first, there was nothing. But then, they found it. A blurry clip showing Kojo entering the file room late at night. And the next morning, he was the first one in the office. It was enough. Kweku didn't wait. He called Kojo into his office. You planted the file in Afia's folder. You set her up. Kojo scoffed. You have no proof. I don't need proof to know what kind of person you are. But the cameras do. You're suspended indefinitely. That night, Kweku drove from street to street looking for Afia. He finally found her near the same market stall she used to sleep behind. She looked thinner. Tired. Her hair was messy. Her eyes dull. He stepped out of the car. She turned. Kweku, she whispered. I came to take you home, he said. Afia shook her head. There's no home for people like me. There is, he said, stepping closer. Because I believe in you. And I was wrong for not fighting for you when you needed me most. She stared at him, tears finally spilling. Why does life always pull me back down? Maybe, he said gently, so you can rise higher. And with that, he took her hand. But they didn't know, the storm was not over yet. It was only the beginning. The silence in the car was long and heavy as Kweku drove Afia through the city lights. She stared out of the window, her hands resting in her lap. Her fingers were dry and cracked again, just like before. Her dreams, once reborn, now felt broken. You haven't said much, Kweku said gently. I don't know what to say, Afia replied. 1 minute I was changing my life. The next, I'm back on the street. Again. I should have spoken up for you sooner. I trusted the noise instead of listening to you. Afia turned to him. Why now? After everyone has made their judgment. Because I have proof, Kweku said. She looked at him. It was Kojo. He set you up. We have it on camera. Afia covered her mouth, tears forming. So I wasn't crazy. I wasn't dreaming. I was really innocent. Kweku pulled the car over and looked into her eyes. You were always innocent. I was the fool who didn't protect you. For the first time since she was thrown out, Afia allowed herself to cry freely. Not tears of shame, but of truth. The weight of false blame slowly lifted from her chest. The next morning, Afia stood at the gate of the Mensa mansion. She had refused to go in the night before. Not until your mother hears the truth, she said. Kweku had called Madame Okojo to the front porch. When she saw Afia, she folded her arms. Why are you back? Come to beg again. No, Ma, Kweku interrupted. She's here because she deserves to be. Kojo framed her. The security footage proves it. Madam Akojua blinked. What? I reviewed the tapes myself. Kojo went into the file room that night. He planted the document. Silence. Slowly, Madam Akojua's face changed. Her pride collapsed under the weight of her guilt. She looked at Afia, not with scorn, but shame. I'm sorry, she said. I should have known. I judged you too fast. Afia gave a small nod. I forgive you, Ma. But I can't return. Not now. Madam Akojua wiped a tear and stepped aside. Later that day, Kweku returned to the office and announced that Kojo had been officially suspended. Many staff clapped. They had seen the unfair treatment, but no one had dared to speak. Afia stayed back from the company and decided to focus on healing. She rented a small room with the money Kweku quietly gave her. She didn't want handouts, but he insisted. It's not pity. It's what you deserve. With time, she began teaching children in her neighborhood. Every afternoon, 10 to 15 little ones would sit on mats outside her room while she taught them English, math, and simple life lessons. People in the area began calling her Madam Afia with respect. Kweku visited often. They would sit under the mango tree, talking about life. The laughter slowly returned. Her glow slowly came back. One weekend, a group of local leaders held a community awards event. Afia's name was called. For turning pain into power, the chief said. For showing our daughters that even the broken can rise. Afia stood on the stage, wearing a simple dress and bare feet. Her speech was brief. I was once called useless, a girl from the street. But I was never useless. I just needed someone to believe in me. The crowd cheered. Suddenly, Kweku stepped onto the stage. He dropped to one knee. From his pocket, he pulled a small, shining ring. Afia, he said, his voice loud and shaking, you didn't just change your life. You changed mine. Will you marry me? Gasps. Cheers. Hands clapped to mouths. Afia froze. Tears welled in her eyes. Then, with a bright smile, she whispered, yes. The crowd erupted. And just like that, the orphan who had once slept under the market stall became the bride of the village's most admired son. But not everyone was happy. And soon, a shadow from the past would return. Wedding preparations began almost immediately. The village buzzed with excitement. Everyone wanted to see the poor orphan girl who captured the heart of the richest family's only son. Tailors, caterers, and dancers were all booked. Invitations were hand-delivered by Kweku himself, and many called it the most anticipated wedding of the year. But Afia's heart remained humble. She didn't dream of diamonds or fancy gowns. She only dreamed of peace, of living a life where she could give back what the world had once denied her. She visited the mango tree school every day, still teaching the children even when the press started showing up, even when women from wealthy families came with cameras, snapping photos of the bride with no shoes. Are you not ashamed? One woman asked her one afternoon. Afia smiled. Shame is when you have everything but help no one. The woman went quiet. One morning, while sorting through her old things in a small wooden box, Afia found a torn envelope. Inside was a letter. It was written in her father's handwriting, the ink faded with time. If anything happens to me and your mother, go to the city. Look for your Uncle Kwame. He will help you. Her heart skipped. Uncle Kwame. She had no memory of him. Her father had never spoken much about his family. But now, she had to find him. She told Kweku that night. You think he's still alive? He asked. I don't know. But I have to try. Kweku nodded. Then we'll search together. Meanwhile, not everyone was pleased about Afia's rise. Sandra Bodu, daughter of a wealthy politician and Kweku's childhood friend, had just returned from the UK. She had always imagined herself becoming Mrs. Kweku Mensah. When she learned about his engagement to a village girl, she couldn't believe it. "She's a gold digger," Sandra whispered at a women's gathering. "Mark my words, something about that girl is fake." Sandra began digging into Afia's past. When she found nothing damaging, she started creating lies, spreading rumors that Afia had dated older men for money, that she faked her orphan status, that she was behind her own downfall to gain sympathy. The gossip spread like wildfire. Even staff at Mensa Agritech began to murmur. Kweku confronted Sandra at a charity ball. "Why are you doing this?" "Because she doesn't belong with you," Sandra snapped. "She'll embarrass your family." "No, Sandra," he said firmly. "She's the reason our family has grown. You're the one bringing shame." He walked away. But Sandra wasn't finished. A week before the wedding, Afia received an envelope under her door. Inside were printed screenshots, fake messages, as if she were communicating with Kojo, planning something evil. Her hands trembled. Her stomach turned. She ran to Kweku. "They are trying to break us," she said. "I swear these are fake." Kweku took the papers and burned them without reading. "I don't care what anyone says," he told her. "I trust you." Tears fell from her eyes. "But Kweku, people believe what they want to believe. Then we'll show them what truth looks like." On the day of her bridal speech, Afia stood before a crowd of reporters and guests in the village hall. She looked stunning in a simple traditional dress and coral beads. No diamonds. No gold. Just dignity. She took the microphone and said, "Some people say I don't belong here. That I came from nothing. And maybe they are right, I came from pain, from hunger, from rejection. But I never gave up. I stand here not because I'm perfect, but because someone believed in me. And now, I will spend the rest of my life helping others believe in themselves too." The hall went silent. Then, applause thundered like a storm. But outside, in the shadows, Sandra stood by her car, watching with burning eyes. "She'll regret this," she muttered. And far away in another part of the city, a man in a dark suit held a photo of Afia in his hand, the same photo from her childhood. He whispered, "So, you survived." And the final storm was on its way. The wedding day arrived with sunshine and joy. The village was decorated with palm leaves, colorful fabrics, and flowers from every corner of the region. Drummers played at the gates of the Mensa mansion, women danced in wrappers and beads, and children ran barefoot, singing Afia's name like she was a legend. Afia walked down the aisle not with diamonds, but with grace. She wore a white cane dress stitched by the village seamstress and golden bangles gifted by the woman she once taught under the mango tree. Her feet were bare, by choice. A sign of staying grounded. Kweku stood waiting at the altar, dressed in royal blue agbada, his eyes fixed on the woman who had transformed his life. As Afia reached him, the guests stood in awe. Even Madame Akojua, once cold and proud, wiped silent tears. The chief of the village stood and spoke. "Let this day be remembered," he said. "That a girl the world threw away rose to become a queen in her own right. Afia, we kneel in respect of your journey." And one by one, the villagers, elders, and guests, rich and poor, bowed their heads or knelt. Not because of her marriage, but because of her courage. But just as peace filled the air, a man in a grey suit stepped forward. His voice was deep and quiet. "Afia." She turned. Her eyes widened. "Uncle. Kwame." He nodded slowly. "I searched for you for years. Your father left me a letter, he feared something would happen. When I finally found you, you were already standing tall. I am proud. She burst into tears and embraced him tightly. I thought you had forgotten me. I never stopped looking. Kweku welcomed him with a bow. Thank you for coming. She has spoken about you often since the letter. Uncle Kwame smiled. Now I can walk in peace. She has a new family. A powerful one. Weeks after the wedding, Afia and Kweku traveled across towns, starting small community centers for orphan children. With Kweku's support, she launched a foundation in her late parents' names. It provided school supplies, meals, and safe spaces for homeless girls across the country. At every ribbon cutting, every classroom opened, children would run to her and call her Mama Afia. But the past wasn't finished. One morning, a black SUV parked in front of the foundation office. A man handed Afia a legal document. It was from Sandra. She was suing Afia for defamation, blaming her for ruining her social image. Kweku laughed. This is ridiculous. But Afia didn't laugh. Let's meet her in truth, not anger. At court, Sandra sat tall, dressed in designer clothes and surrounded by lawyers. Afia walked in with a calm face and simple Ankara gown. When asked if she would fight back, Afia smiled and said, I forgive her. Because hate is heavy. And I carry enough scars already. The judge dismissed the case. Sandra walked out red with shame. Outside, a reporter asked Afia, what would you say to young girls like you? She looked into the camera and said, don't wait to be accepted. Be brave, be kind, and walk through the fire. If no one opens a door, build your own. A year later, Afia gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Naira, meaning blessing in Twi. On her naming day, the entire village gathered. Madam Akojua carried the baby proudly, saying, she will walk with her mother's heart and her father's strength. As Kweku and Afia stood in the crowd, watching the people celebrate, Afia whispered, do you see all this, Kweku? Yes, he said, holding her hand. It started with rain and a girl who refused to be washed away. They smiled as the sun set behind the mango tree, where her journey had once begun. And now, her story lit the path for others.